Thousands of trees in this woodland have been destroyed by a silent killer, a disease that's been found across the UK and, if not addressed swiftly, can have devastating consequences for woodland and wildlife. And in this video, we're going to be travelling through St Ives Park here in West Yorkshire to witness the devastation firsthand and try and figure out exactly what happened here. Not only that, but at some point in this video, I'm going to be hiding a giveaway item somewhere in the local area for one of you to find. So come along with me and let's go and check it out. Now we are unfortunately going to have to leave this amazing view and head inside to the dark woodland for a very short walk till we can find this patch of felled trees. But before we do that, I was kind of blown away by what I found up here on this outcrop of rocks. All these amazing carvings. We've seen a few spots a little bit like this around Yorkshire on this channel, and whether you like the look of it or not, I'm always quite impressed by the quality of some of these engravings and the depth of some of them as well. I was having a look to try and find the oldest one, but we've got somewhere to go, so let's head out and carry on with our story. Now, this disease was first discovered in 2009, known maybe most commonly as Larch Tree Disease, but also Ramorum Disease. It does have a more formal name, but those are the two you might see most commonly. And at the time it was discovered, larch trees on record accounted for around 5% of Britain's total woodland. That's quite a lot. Now, if you're not too familiar with your trees, which I'll be honest, I'm not, then you might be wondering, what is larch tree? Have I ever seen one? Well, there is a good chance you have, so let me quickly show you before we head into the shade over there. This is not a sponsored product placement, I promise you, but I came across this app when preparing for this video and I thought it could be quite useful. So, what do I know about this tree? Well, one of its most recognisable features is the clusters of needles that can be found throughout summer and the majority of the year. So we're going to ignore the other options. We're going to go for needles. Singles, pairs, nope. Clustered. Colour yellow, blue, green, we're going for green. And it's going to give us 3 possible matches. And here we go, larch. So if we scroll through the pictures, this is what we're going to be looking for. I mean, maybe not today because they've been felled here, but there might still be some in the area. Now there's a good chance after seeing those pictures that it's clicked for you. You're thinking, yeah, I've seen those. I never really knew what they were because I never used to know this tree by name, but I definitely recognise those characteristics. Aside from these clusters of needles, they can grow up to 30 metres in height and they can live for around 250 years. The ones we're travelling to, unfortunately, didn't make it that long. So what's the deal with this disease then? Why did all these trees have to be cut down? Well, it really is a deadly disease that can spread rapidly. It's capable of causing damage or death to over 150 plant species. This is a bit random. I guess this was useful when there used to be another gate here. Yeah, 150 species. And that's one of the reasons why, if it's ever discovered in a woodland, action has to be taken fast. Because if it's left on its own, it can spread fast and just really have devastating effects. So whilst thousands of felled trees might sound horrible and nasty, it is better than the alternative. Now, where it came from? Well, there's another plant in the firing line in this video on this subject matter. One particular invasive species that is not too popular around here. You might be thinking Himalayan balsam. Not this time, but that is also on the naughty list. But when it comes to larch tree disease, it's rhododendrons, because they're the plants that are believed to have spread Ramorum disease or larch tree disease in the first place. Not a very windy day today. Hopefully my wind protector is doing its job. I've also got the sunlight over there just kind of taunting us. It looks really nice and warm over that side. And for any keen navigators out there, maybe you can use the clues available right now to try and figure out what direction I'm walking in. The current time is 8:11 in the morning. This is where we're heading. This is directly to my right, my 3 o'clock. And this is what we're walking through. A little puzzle for you. We've also got some walls that have clearly not been disturbed for a very long time. Absolutely strewn in lichen and moss. I could only try and guess how long these have been stood for. Well over 100 years, surely. So back to the larch tree story. So rhododendrons are on the bad list for seemingly bringing this disease to the trees. But they're not the only culprit when it comes to spreading it around. In fact, we're slightly responsible for that potentially as well. Because the disease itself, like many diseases, is pretty good when it comes to getting about. It can be transported through environmental factors like mist, rain splashes, but then through humans, footprints walking through diseased areas, animals as well, paw prints from dogs or other animals, and then things like vehicle tyres. So all in all, it's pretty efficient when it comes to taking over. So we now know generally what it is, the culprits when it comes to its spread, but how do you identify it? Well, I wish I could show you, but at the same time, I'm really hoping we don't see any signs of it today. And if you do ever think you've seen signs of Larch Tree Disease out in the wild, you should definitely report it to whoever manages the park or the woodland that you're in if you can do. There are apparently a few different signs and symptoms, and maybe the most visible one that I read about can be seen on the bark of the tree. And I think this one stuck in my mind because of the language used. By the way, this is another filming day in which the weather forecast told me it was going to rain, so I guess I should be grateful. Yeah, the descriptions of this were almost graphic, I think, because to me, some of these words are medical terminology. And I'm referring to descriptions of lesions on the tree bark, which apparently ooze dark fluid. So if you ever see these kind of wet, sticky looking dark patches on larch tree bark, it's worth having a closer look. And if you're not sure, just let someone know just in case. I promise you, they'd probably appreciate it. Now, with all that in mind, let's crack on and head out into what is going to be open space where all these trees had to be taken down and removed. Let's go and see what happened. Now, it should be just through here. You can probably, maybe on the camera, already see the blanket of clear blue sky, unobstructed by trees. Now bear in mind, this is just the far side of the cleared area. I'll show you the rest in a second. We're going to have a wander all the way around the edge. Interesting that some of the other trees here survived. Let's see if we can get a better angle. Ooh. Now, as you might have noticed from what remains here, what we've seen already, this happened a short while ago now, back in 2023. They said that they had to cut down around 4,000 trees in total. And I assume that includes this area here too. Now there's a fair chance you may have witnessed or noticed a similar scene in a park somewhere near you. I hope not, but it's not particularly unlikely. And the felled area, as well as over this wall on our right hand side, just carries on. And to be honest, the strangest part of it visually, now that I'm here, is just these lone trees, just standing by themselves pretty much. Now I was wondering, knowing that there'd been felled trees here, whether we could do a bit of ring counting on one of the tree stumps, but I wonder if they might be a little bit old and weathered. These aren't looking like particularly good candidates. This might be something we'll have to revisit in a different episode. That one looks a little bit more visual. Not so much. Okay, we're gonna have to come back to that in the future. We can at least see, we can see a lot, but one thing that's interesting about reading tree rings is the width, because there is quite a lot that we can discern from a tree's history and its life. Not only that, but about the environment that it lived in, based on how it's grown over time. So we'll try and find a better example of that in future. Now, on the bright side at least, you may have noticed around here are some saplings. And that's because the local council, with the help of many volunteers, have planted around, I think, 250 saplings since all of these trees were felled. And those same people, including the same volunteers, are apparently here on a fairly frequently basis, trying to get rid of any persistent rhododendrons. So there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes here and in all parks and woodlands to maintain and look after the nature and the wildlife. And I do owe a thank you to the Trees and Woodlands team at Bradford Council who are responsible for this park, because I got in touch with them when I was researching the area and they were very friendly and helpful. Now, I have to admit, the location of this video was not an accident. Don't worry, this isn't the start of a sponsored segment, but I've been looking for an excuse to come back to this area and film for a little while now. And it's because a couple of months ago on this channel, I made a video about Yorkshire's largest old penny arcade. It's an amazing place inside a huge garden centre, and at the end of the video, the owners gave me a couple of books for a future giveaway on this channel and £30 worth of gift vouchers. Now, if you're new to this channel, what I'm doing right now might make no sense, so I'll give you the short version. Every now and then, I hide a giveaway item in the area that I'm filming for one of the viewers of the video to come along and find. And so, of course, in this case, I had to come back here. I didn't want to hide them somewhere far away from where they can be spent. And the garden centre and the arcade are a few minutes away from here, so it's a perfect location. This is the tricky part though. Finding good hiding spots in woodland and open spaces like this is, I think, more difficult than it looks. It needs to tick a few boxes. Number one, it can't be hidden recklessly. You know, I don't want somebody trampling over the saplings to find it. Number two, it needs to be hidden in a place that can't be found by other people by accident. So it can't be just sticking out of somewhere easily visible. And number three, it needs to be hidden well, but not so well that it puts somebody in danger when they're trying to find it. I did read about this rock. Lady Blantyre's Rock, 1875. That's a lot of words. The Dowager Lady Blantyre, for nearly 30 years, was accustomed in summer to sit under this rock, reading and enjoying the scenery. In 1857, St Ives was altered and enlarged from plans entirely drawn by herself and her daughter, the Honourable Miss Ferrand. Ah, okay. Now, the Ferrands used to own this park at one time, so that makes sense. The terrace and its flower garden, I don't know where that is actually, were also designed by them. Her ladyship ended her last visit on the 21st of November 1874 and died resting on the... I'm not quite sure what that is. Resting on the something of ages at Lennox. Huh? Okay, it gets a bit tricky to read here. I can't unfortunately decipher all of that, but she's responsible for some of the design of this park. Now, this is a good example of somewhere that would be too obvious to hide it. Might get picked up by a dog down there as well. This park, by the way, it's a big place. Oh, we can see even more felled trees down there. Yeah, it's apparently the biggest park in the district of Bradford. So there's a lot more to it than what we've seen so far. This could be tricky. I'm thinking, am I going to have to bury it? Throwback to an older video on this channel as well. And at one point in history, St Ives Park was owned by monks. But as with Fountains Abbey, Henry VIII saw to that and eventually it passed on to new owners and has since been through several people or families. The Ferrands, which I think this is a tribute to, which we saw the connection with on the tablet down there, the Ferrands were one of those families. Is this any easier to read? That's not part one. Where does it start? I'll leave this for people to pause in case you want to try and decipher it. Maybe the contrast will show up a little bit better in the footage. Oh, we got this at least. William Ferrand of St Ives. These days it's owned and run by the council. This is of course tempting, but it's very much an eye catcher. And you'll have plenty of kids and animals running in and out of that. Okay, the only option I'm left with, at least that I can think of right now, is to hide it in a dry stone wall again. Try and find an area that's already collapsed and without taking anything else apart, just hide it under a few of them. So I'm thinking this huge bit that had tumbled down over here. It's a pretty big wall. I forgot this number in a recent video, but I've since checked, and when we filmed the dry stone wall episode, the guy said that the sort of average wall is 4 foot tall. This is much bigger than that. I don't know how this perspective comes across, but I'm 6'1", so that's about the same really. Pretty huge. Okay, this is what I was thinking of. Maybe I can just pick up a few of these and bury the book underneath without being spotted. It's quite a busy walking route, I think, from what I've seen this morning. Okay, let's do this before we get spotted. As always, it's in a weatherproof wrap, so it's going to survive for a good while at least. There are 2 books in here that are from the gift shop in the garden centre where the arcade was. Everything's donated by them, and the £30 voucher is inside, along with handwritten note and some extra Northern Introvert stickers. I'm not going to tell you what both of these books are, but if you've seen that video, you'll know, because I showed them at the end, but they're good. I think that's a pretty solid job. I haven't disturbed anything, nothing else is going to be falling. I've just moved a few of these loose ones. So there are a few layers, enough that you would never see it by accident, but all you're going to have to do is lift a couple of stones and then the book is yours. And there's no way somebody's going to find this by accident. The only way that's going to get found by accident is if they've got plans to come and repair this. And that, I don't know. But it looks like it's been tumbled for quite a while, so fingers crossed there are no plans to fix this up. Now the last thing, you're going to need the location. We're going to use trusty what 3 words again? Ooh, device GPS is very poor. Uh-oh. Being outdoors may improve accuracy. What? I'm definitely outdoors. Okay, my GPS is having a bit of a bad time, but I'm pretty sure this is correct, because this path here is the boundary around this wall that we've walked up. So we've got Toasted Brew Inclines. I'll put the text on screen as well. That should take you pretty much to this exact location. If not, it'll be just to the side, so you'll spot it. And the bit you're looking for is this kind of rectangular looking edge here. All you have to do, nothing wild, lift off a couple of these, and then the book, the stickers and the vouchers are yours. As always, if you do find them, please let us know in the comments and I can then pin it and let everybody else know that it's been found. And before we wrap up the video, I want to give a massive thank you to everybody who helped me out hugely after a recent blunder filming a video not so long ago. I'll cut another long story short. Many of you will know I moved between 2 locations whilst filming, took my microphone off myself, put it on my car, and I just drove away. I just drove off and I never found it again. I never managed to find it. And a lot of people were very, very kind and generous in that video to help me get a replacement, which I'm now using. This is the replacement, so thank you so much. These horses look very friendly. And I've learnt my lesson not to leave stuff on top of my car. Or if I do that, I'm just going to quadruple check every single time. And on the Larch Tree Disease, Ramorum Disease, if you've got any questions, if you know more about it than I've spoken about, which I'm sure many of you will do, because I've kind of just given a summary in this video. I'm very much not an expert on trees or this disease, but this is everything I know about it. So please, as always, feel free to drop more information into the comment section or questions, and I'm sure between us we can answer most of them, if not all of them. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't done already, and fingers crossed, I'll see you next time.